make sure that you're always waking up and striving to be the best that you can be, and always be looking for that continuous improvement, always looking to be, more efficient with your time. And I think, time allocation as it relates to education, execution, and then some relaxation as well is super important in that regard. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max. I am your host. I'm the CEO here at Smith & Sons in Canada, and I'm also the founder at EliteBusinessAdvisory.com. Good to have you with us again. We've got a bit of a series coming on. It seems like a bit of a thing that I've cottoned onto. I'm sort of enjoying it, and I hope you are as well. Look, just be sure to like and subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. One of these drops every week. If you're a first-time listener, I really appreciate you checking us out. But if you've been with us for the longest time, we really appreciate you hanging in there and trust you are getting some value from the show. Don't forget Business for Builders VIP Facebook page. That is a private group. If you answer the questions and you're a good sort, I will let you in. And, that's a good community whereby I want each of the general contractors in there. Some will be giving and some will be asking questions, and others will be in a position to be able to help out perhaps. So that community is not for me to go and blast more stuff on there. I really want to have that group who have been affected by this podcast to really get involved over there and ask a few questions. And of course, I will, curate the information there and help out where I can if need be. So look, I think the other thing is obviously get across and check out the EliteBusinessAdvisory.com webpage if you're keen to chat with me about the possibilities around some customized coaching for contractors. All right, let's get cracking. I think what we've got going on in the industry right now is there's a little bit of change that's sort of happening. We've noticed it because I have the luxury of to have business partners, in Australia. I'm based in Canada, in Smith & Sons here. And of course, I'm also chatting with, several builders and contractors in a few different countries about what's happening in their world. And there is definitely a lot of consistency across the board, which is resulting in, I think, a little bit of challenge or a little bit of back pressure on the builders. And I think at this time, I felt to go back to my roots, and I'm not 100% sure, but I got a feeling some of the early podcasts that we put out, which are a little scary, and I probably hesitate to go and watch those myself. But, I started out talking about the concept or the system that, we use to assess, from a macro standpoint or a 40,000 foot view, what it is that we need to be working on at any one time. And there's always something to be done. And so, I'm gonna cover in the next few episodes. I'm going to talk about next 4 episodes. Actually, I'm going to talk about mindset, and I'm going to talk about marketing, management, and then mentoring and mastery. I'm going to put together in the final episode of this little series. So, I hope you enjoy this one. Again, get across there. Email me, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com if you want to have a quick, you've got a couple of questions that you want to pose. But be sure, if you want to have a quick chat with me about what's going on in your business, I can give you 30 minutes and I will absolutely jam it full of as much information as I can. And then you can figure out where to and what you want to do beyond that. So, look, the reason we're going to talk about these concepts or these overarching headings is because I think right now it's most important that we just go back to basics, okay? And so I want to just maybe not necessarily demystify, because everyone sort of has some understanding of what mindset is, but I really want to just nail down the importance of all of these aspects humming away at the same time. It's almost like if we talked about mindset, marketing, management, mentoring, and mastery, I think that, mentoring and mastering is why it's on the end of the series. But it plays a pretty interesting role, and one that's fairly important, more important to me now than ever. But certainly the first 3, mindset, marketing, and management, are very relevant and need to be happening at the same time. So let's get cracking. So three top priorities for a general contractor when we're talking about development of the business, because we don't just snap our fingers, click our heels, or wiggle our nose and we have success. So when we're talking about these 3 things, mindset being the first one. The reasoning is that we've got to have a positive, growth-oriented mindset. It's crucial for us to be successful, that if we want to be successful, we've got to establish a very solid mindset. Projects that we do, even in the sales process, can be complex and they can be, fraught with challenges. And so for us to be in a good mental space on a consistent basis, and I'm not saying that we don't drop into some valleys occasionally, but a resilient mindset's going to help us face the setbacks. Someone said once that a setback is a setup for a comeback. And, I use that a lot in my own mental conditioning. There's a lot of regulation that goes into my mental space because, I am a fairly, intense individual. I almost said aggressive. I'm not sure if aggressive is right. I'm getting a head nod that it might be. But, I'm very bullish in my approach to, getting the job done. I think that's really what it comes down to. But when you're facing setbacks, this is where the state of your mind, has got to be nailed down. And you've got to understand that if you go into that valley, how are you getting back out? Because I've seen guys go in there and not live to tell the tale. So, we've got to be able to adapt changes and we've got to stay motivated. That's really what I'm getting at. It's like, well, if we're looking for external sources to motivate us, and I'm not saying that they're not out there, but if you get done listening to, XYZ motivational speaker and the feeling that you had whilst you were in that podcast or that YouTube video, if that feeling is not sustained once you turn off that video and you go back to your normal life, then you've got an inherent issue and challenge within yourself. So this is why I talk a lot about, I guess in the business, and this is really focused on borderline why, because a lot of time was like, Max, I just need a checklist or a spreadsheet or some quality assurance processes or, a good ad for recruiting a new carpenter or whatever the case may be. And that's very much how to. But I think when we go back to the mindset aspect, which is why I've kicked off with this, because if you don't set this foundation right, you can't build on top of it. We've got to figure out what our why is. Why do you do, Max, I want to make money. Okay, why? Well, because I want to go into investment properties. Why? Well, so we got to start compartmentalizing or even separating the how from the why. I think we've got to start, I was having a chat with one of my guys yesterday and, we talked about recruiting and, it's important. Behind the camera here on our conference room wall, there is 12 core values. And, I've been fairly, I don't know about not lazy, but I've been distant in using those core values to recruit. Now, of course, some of the things that have happened in my business life recently has really brought me back around to go, hey, bro, you've got these core values. You've got failures within your business. There's a lot tied to the fact that the individuals or the humans within your business weren't in alignment with your core values. You need to make sure that you're using core values to recruit. And so, that was where there was this conversation with this builder, is that we had to just look introspectively and go, what other things are important to us? Use those to recruit, and then the life, in our business becomes better and the humans in and around our business become more improved. And so, I would also say to you, similar to that is that if you're not enjoying your business, you've got to figure out why you do what you do. And so the mental side, the mental struggle that goes on is absolutely real. And I think if you do not nail this down, you're going to be fairly dissatisfied with your existence. And so this is why I have some guys come to me and go, Max, I'm going to build a $4 million business. And I'm like, great. How is your home life going to be able to support you whilst you're on that journey? So what we have, and he might say, or she might say, well, my partner at home thinks I'm already working too much. And so if you're going to drive and try and climb that hill, then you're going to find yourself you're going to be striving to do something on the, in the business sector of your life. Meanwhile, you've got lots of friction happening at home. And so there's sometimes, I'm blessed to have a really good wife who does very well at home and is extremely happy with, what she does, as far as her role in our, family development. And so it allows me, she's very strong in that regard, and it allows me to be able to come out here and jump into the business arena at a high level and slay dragons. And she's very patient, and she's a great compliment to, what I do. And so this is why for you, we're talking about setting your mental space up, because you'll struggle with that. I go to work, I love what I do, but when I go home, it's friction. And so this is why you've got to, have that understanding that setting your mindset, relative to you as a person, and what it is that you want to achieve, and then what's your life outside of the business, that's super important as well. So a couple more benefits as it relates to mindset. It enhances your problem-solving skills. A positive mindset enables contractors or builders to approach problems with creativity and resilience, finding effective solutions even in difficult situations. I look at what we do in the construction business, and it's like 90% of the time there's something that's challenging the project, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve. Very rarely do we just put it on autopilot and everything just sings along beautifully. There's always somebody ringing us going, oi, this wasn't on the plan. Oi, this wasn't part of my quote. Oi, now this client's talked to me about this. Like, there's always some level of friction. And so when we're talking about mindset, we're talking about not an IQ or an intelligence quotient. We're talking about an emotional quotient, to be able to steady yourself and hold your nerve despite the fact that there is something going on. And, one of my greatest challenges is definitely being able to, regulate my emotions, because I do fly off the handle rather quickly. And so my challenge forever will be to regulate, because when the emotion goes up, my ability to make good decisions goes down. And I've talked about that lots of times. So problem solving is pretty much what we do, whether it's on a building site or we're in our office space, if you like, and we go, hey, we've got this issue. We need to solve this problem. I think when you've got your mindset in the right spot and your attitude towards business is not like, I'm in business because I want an easy ride. Like, that is the worst motivation. There's things that I as an entrepreneur want, i.e. autonomy, right? I don't like to answer to a boss. I mean, I'm answering to business partners and bank managers and, other people in and around my life. But for the most part, there's an accountability there for sure. But I like to set my own schedule. I like to drive my own calendar, and so, that's sometimes a benefit to me. But if we don't undertake that level of responsibility at the highest level, what we'll find is the business will start driving us. And then we move into that realm where I've now got a business by default and I don't know what's going on, instead of having a business by design. And so, enhancing the problem solving skills is what you and we need to keep sharp in that regard, because every time we wake up, there's either something that's lingering or there's something that's just hit my desk and I've got to try and solve that problem. So when I've got the right mindset remember, business is an infinite game. Okay. The idea of business, and I know this might sound weird, the idea of business is to stay in business. Now, to stay in business, you need to be profitable, right? And so what we're trying to do is really, and this is when we fast forward to, the part 4 of this series, we're going to be talking about mastery. And I think that's when we get into a position where we move from the chaos stage, we move into the control phase, and then into the prosperity stages where we want to be. And when you start, when you start kicking those goals and you start seeing the profitability within projects and the execution of those projects and, the level of your fixed expenses and your understanding of the metrics, collaboratively across the board, right from what is my revenue target right through to what is my return on advertising spend and everything in between, all of a sudden there's this confidence. So that is the goal. That's where we want to really transition from chaos. But that's going to take, if you're in that state of chaos, you're going to need to focus on, why do I do what I do? And then you've got to really understand your strengths and weaknesses. You may not be the guy to be running a building company. You might have a builder's license. I always said the easiest thing for me to do was get a builder's license. Okay. And so, really what we've got to focus on, am I in the right spot? We talk about the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and what the goal is, if you're trying to build a team using the core values that we've just spoken about, we want to have the right people on the bus, sitting in the right seats and doing the job the right way. And so, our greatest challenge by far is humans. And the greatest frustration for me is by far humans. Just whether it's franchised operators or clients or team in the corporate office, even business partners can be a little frustrating sometimes. So by far, it's humans are our greatest challenge. So if our mindset is not focused on problem solving, then we're going to find ourselves just getting frustrated and throw our hands up. And that's not what we want to do. The second thing there, the other benefit of having a very well-established mindset is it improves your leadership abilities. And so really for what whether you're a one-man band or whether you've got, a team, you are in a position of leadership. Okay. So it's your leadership capability that we're really wanting to develop. And so, it's funny because when I'm either working with franchise builders or general contractors, or I'm working with my elite business advisory clients, there's a point where we get the basics down as far as the activity key metrics. We start to understand how the interdependence is there based on what we're looking at as far as the data. But there is a point where in some cases, I've got to question the growth of the individual. In other words, the leadership, the promotion of oneself in your own life as a leader, because whether you like it or not, people look up to you. So there's an elevation of your status within your ecosystem. And you need to, part of my job is to bring awareness and then education and then accountability. And so, in some cases, I've had to make some of my builders become aware that you're in a leadership position. You're there to be friendly and really create that culture within the business of safety. But you're not really the guys, any of the guys in your team, you're not their mates. And so you've got to make that distinction and make that separation and just keep it professional. That's all I would say. So contractors with a growth mindset inspire their team members to work towards common goals, fostering a culture of innovation and continuous improvement. And again, that is really a cultural or a core value for most of us business owners. That's we want the guys, to always be continuously improving. If any of our guys get comfortable, ask yourself the question, is it because I'm getting comfortable? Am I getting lazy? Am I just too, laissez-faire as it relates to my attitude to everything, to do with the business? Because shit rolls downhill, folks. So make sure that you're always waking up and striving to be the best that you can be, and always be looking for that continuous improvement, always looking to be, more efficient with your time. I think, time allocation as it relates to education, execution, and then some relaxation as well is super important in that regard. And here's the final benefit. I think, one of the final benefits, this is obviously not an exhaustive list by any means, but as it relates to mindset, it increases your risk-taking capacity. And I think about what business is at its core, and it's about, taking the risk and really expecting a return on investment. And so, I think when our mindset is right, again, really I would say that if your mindset is not emotional, it's not emotionally driven, it's very much in the controlled state of mind, then your ability to calculate better, because that's rational thinking, is good because your emotions are down. And so when we're not emotional about what's going on in the business and our mindset is under control and in the right space, it increases our risk-taking capacity. So with a positive mindset, contractors and builders are more likely to take calculated risks, which can lead to innovative approaches and business growth. So guys and gals, that really just sums up, just think about your mindset, think about because what happens is sometimes you have a mindset by default because you are just pushed around like a boat in a rough storm. It's like you just get bullied by the waves that come. You don't have any power. Like you haven't got the ability to move forward because your mindset is not something you've given thought to, but it is the foundation stone of everything going forward within your business. I mean, we're not talking about checklists. We're not talking about reading any books. We're just really saying, hey, let's do an audit on am I proactive or am I reactive? And I know that when I get into a reactive state, I've got to hit the timeout button, just go, mate, just calm down. Like seriously, like you're just not going to, it's like that little 3-year-old that's trying to tie their shoes and the knot's in the shoelace and all the kid does is get frustrated and pull the knot tighter. And that's what sometimes I do as a business owner. I just want to get angry at it and try and rip it apart. And all that burns a lot of energy and doesn't really get me any closer to the end result either. And so, that's how I go. What's my view on what happens in the business? That's, really determined by my mindset. And when you embrace the fact that, for more often than not, things are going to be a challenge, then you don't get surprised by that anymore. You don't get annoyed by that. You don't get irritated or frustrated by it. You just go, this is the business of, developing and improving and making sure that, my business can be the best it can be off the back of me as a leader with the appropriate mindset. I hope that was good. Like and subscribe. Go build a kick-ass business. See you on the next episode. Cheers.